Hello and good morning, students. This is your teacher Sonali Nandi, and today we are going to do a short recap of the chapter India in the 18th century. Now, Indian history witnessed significant changes from the medieval to the modern period, which began with the decline of the Mughal Empire during the first half of the 18th century. Subsequent to this, many European companies started establishing themselves here for trade. The East India Company, being the most important, played a pivotal role in establishing the British rule. Now, during that time, in India, which were ruled by monarchy, even at the verge of the collapse of the Mughal Empire after the Aurangzeb's rule, people during that period in America, they were fighting in 1776 to establish a government based on constitution, which we have already read in the growth of nationalism chapter, which was similar to what India has today. Now the constitution, they were fighting for the constitution, and that constitution is very similar with the Indian constitution which we have in the present scenario. Similarly, in France, the slogan of equality, liberty, and fraternity was raised against monarchy in the French Revolution. That also we have in our constitution. Now, in India, the 18th century is generally considered as the starting point of the modern period. Many of the socio-cultural and political realities of modern India have their roots in this period. Now, Mughal after the Aurangzeb. By the end of the Mughals' long reign of 50 years, many regional kingdoms began to resist Mughal control. Moreover, by 1707, the sheer extent of the empire and the inadequate system of communication had made it difficult to keep the empire together. The Mansabdari system had become hereditary. The provincial governor became quite powerful and were waiting for an opportunity to break away from the central authority. Europeans were already anchored on the coast of India, looking for an opportunity to enhance their trading activities and to maximize their profit by any possible means. The wars of succession among the three sons of Aurangzeb after his death further weakened the empire. By 1857, Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar had already surrendered to the most popular political contender of the time, that is the British. Next, the successor of the Aurangzeb. Now, Aurangzeb's death witnessed the accession of many worthless rulers, or one after other, in rapid succession. First, Bahadur Shah I. Bahadur Shah ascended the throne at the old age of 63 years. He reversed some of the fanatical policies introduced by Aurangzeb and adopted a conciliatory approach towards the Rajput and the Marathas. He was too old to either adopt a strong policy or to prevent the decline of his empire. Next, Jahandar Shah. Jahandar Shah was the first ruler of the Mughal dynasty who was incapable of administrating the affair of the empire. The entire administration fell into utter confusion during his brief reign of 10 months. His nephew Farrukh Shah killed him and ascended the throne. Farrukh Shah. Farrukh Shah's reign was managed by two brothers. They were Abdullah Khan and Hussein Ali Khan. They are popular in history as Sayyid brothers and are known as the kingmakers. The king's incapability to rule made these two brothers the actual rulers or the actual masters. The attempts made by Farrukh Shah to regain his power resulted in his assassination in 1719. Farrukh Shah was succeeded by worthless rulers in brief span of 6 months. Now they were Rafi-ud Darazat and Rafi-ul Dawla. Now in 1719, Muhammad Shah ascended the throne. He led a life of merrymaking and therefore came to be known as the Rangila. Now Muhammad Shah was 18 years old at that time and he was the grandson of Bahadur Shah I. All these rulers were very weak and inefficient and were puppets of their powerful wazir. The invasion of Nadir Shah caused immense damage and the loss of prestige to the Mughal Empire. It exposed the weakness of the empire to the native and the foreign powers. Next ruler who came was Alamgir II. During his rule, the East India Company established a foothold in Bengal in 1757 by defeating Siraj-ud-Dawla, who was the Nawab of Bengal. Next is Shah Alam II. Now Shah Alam II, he came to the throne in 1759 and was unsuccessfully tried to oppose the English East India Company, which had already begun fortifying the three cities of Bombay, that is known as Mumbai, Madras, which is known as Chennai, and Calcutta, which is known as Kolkata. Next is the Akbar II. He ascended the throne in 1806 but could not revive the lost glory of the Mughal Empire and remained a British pensioner. And last is the Bahadur Shah Zafar. Now he also is referred to as Bahadur Shah II because we have read about Bahadur Shah I before. Now Bahadur Shah Zafar was the last Mughal emperor. In 1857, he was taken captive by the British and exiled to Rangoon, where he died in 1862. Now, the positions of the Mughal Empire after the death of Aurangzeb may be best summed as that the 11 Mughal rulers who ruled at 1707, 5 were murdered or deposed, 3 became pensioners of the East India Company, and 3 ruled in the name only. Now this also led to the rise of independent state. Now after the death of Aurangzeb, the vast Mughal Empire gradually ceased to exist as an all-India power. It was split into numerous independent states. Each constituent province slipped out of the imperial control. The Deccan, Awadh, Hyderabad, Bengal and Mysore. The Marathas established their widespread power. The Jats became independent near Agra. The Ruhilas founded the state of Rohilkhand in the north, and the Sikh became active in Punjab. Now we will read about the causes of the decline or downfall of the Mughal Empire. Now, first is that there are many causes for the decline of the Mughal Empire. The root cause was ineffective governance and the absence of strong authority, central authority, which slowly rendered all other aspects weak. Now we'll look into the points now. First, the weaknesses of the king. Most of the later Mughal rulers, they lacked administrative qualities. They were blindly dependent upon their nobles and wazir, and they were mere puppets in their hands. Second point is the wars of succession. Now, the Mughal did not have a law of primogeniture, that is, a law there whereby the firstborn son would naturally inherit the throne. Hence, every time a king died, there was a war of succession among all the contenders of the throne. After Aurangzeb's death, the last of the great Mughals, there followed a war of succession among his three sons. In 1707, Bahadur Shah, then almost old, eventually ascended the throne. Consequently, a weakened leadership could not check corruption, and this ultimately led to the decline of the Mughal Empire. Next point is inefficient successors. Now, the Aurangzeb's successors were inefficient generals who were not interested in military expansion or modernization. They could not check the revolts of the nobles. None of them ruled for a considerable length of time. To be able to consolidate their position, no efforts were made to establish a navy. Next, quarrel among the nobles. The nobles were constantly quarreling among themselves for their self-interest. This weakened the empire. Next, the weaknesses of the Mughal army. The army was not modernized in ways of warfare and weaponry. The soldiers were indisciplined and they lacked courage. Now, next point is failure of the Mansabdari system. This system of ranking was introduced by Akbar. Under this non-hereditary system, imperial officials were given ranks on the basis of meritorious services. Contingents with nobles of mixed group like Mughal, Pathan, Hindustani, Rajput were formed to weaken tribalism. Now, this contingents then became the backbone of Mughal military organizations and civil administration. It was an efficient and meritocratic system without any parallel in the world. However, during the period of the later Mughals, this system became corrupt due to inefficiency. The inability to maintain the required number of Mansabdars led to the breakdown of this system by the end of the 17th century. Next, Jagirdari crisis. Now, the Mughal officers were given jagirs in return for the services rendered. But with the scramble for the profitable jagir, there were very few jagirs left by the end of the 17th century. New officers had to be given jagirs too. Therefore, crown lands were converted to jagir land. As a result, revenue decreased, and so did the power of emperor. Next is the empty treasury or the financial bankruptcy. Now, Shah Jahan's zeal for construction had already depleted the treasury. Aurangzeb's long war in the Deccan further drained it. Moreover, many regional states, princely rulers, and zamindars stopped paying revenue to the empire. The continuous and ever increasing demands on the peasants became unbearable and they rose in revolt. And there were not enough money which also could meet the administrative cost. Next is the widespread corruption. Now, corruption in the administration was from the highest to the lowest wing, which weakened the empire. Next, intolerant religious policy. Now, most of the rulers were intolerant towards non-Muslim. As a result of this, the non-Muslim distanced themselves from the empire. Next, we have the foreign invasion, that is, invasion of the Nadir Shah and Ahmad Shah Abdali not only weakened the empire financially but also shook its stability. Now, Nadir Shah's invasion. Nadir Shah was the ruler of Persia, attacked Punjab in 1739. The Mughal army was easily defeated by Nadir Shah and he marched towards Delhi. Such was the ferocity of his attack that thousands of people were killed and Delhi looked deserted for days. It also lost its grandeur and glory. Nadir Shah took away the renowned Kohinoor diamond, said to be one of the biggest and the most precious in the world, which was gifted to Humayun by the Raja of Gwalior. He also took away the beautiful peacock throne. After the invasion of Nadir Shah, the Mughal Empire shrunk in size rapidly. The Marathas rose to the power under the Peshwa. The whole of central India was under their control, and their influence extended up to Delhi. The Nawab of Awadh and Bengal ruled like independent ruler. The Rohillas had established the independent state of Rohilkhand. The Sikh had also grown very powerful in Punjab. In south, Chinchli Khan had established the state of Hyderabad. The later Mughals, like Ahmad Shah, Alamgir II, and their successors, did not have much powers and controlled only a small area around Delhi. Next is the coming of the European. Now they came as a trader, as we know, and later on took advantage of the weak political situation to become the rulers. And lastly, we'll know about the challenges from the regional power. Now the various groups of zamindars, princely rulers and the other nobles had slowly become powerful and gained recognition during the Mughal rule. The joint stock company of English trader had also become powerful. All of them now began to assert their independence, which led to the rise of many new powers like Sikh, Marathas, Rajput, Jats and Rohillas who challenged the authority of the Mughals. Thus, we have come to the end of the revision of the particular chapter, India in the 18th century. Now, students, please remember that this particular chapter, the syllabus is only till the decline of the Mughal Empire. So, we are not getting enough question from the back of the chapter. So the quiz question which has been given in quiz number 13 and the quiz which will be given in quiz 14, please write those question and answer in your copy and submit on the stipulated time and date which has been mentioned to you. Okay, for today I have done with my work. Thank you very much. Bye bye, take care, stay at home and stay safe.